And now, the long-awaited and eagerly anticipated anthology. After 7 years of research and the settlement of 3 separate lawsuits, Metal as Cult is proud to present From Dropkicked to Drop-Tuned, a history of new metal.
It was the early 1970s, a dark period in music history that would usher in an unprecedented drought of maxtremity. Flower power was in, and the mighty bastion of rock had crumbled and given way to its flamboyant, non-threatening cousins, paving the way for a new generation of musicians who would sport flared jeans, braided hair, and vegan leather accessories that smelled suspiciously like my old art teacher's office. But little did anyone suspect that in this era of free love and groundbreaking songwriting, the world would witness the birth of 2 titans, eternally locked in the Herculean struggle to establish themselves as the world's angriest man, in a course of events that would change music, nay, humanity itself, forever.
Fred Durst, born 1970, was disgusted by this generation's foolish ideology. The pursuit of peace, love and equality was behaviour fit only for the weak, completely inappropriate for the Durst godhead, and on that fateful day in Gastonia, North Carolina, unconfirmed reports tell of an infantile Durst literally punching his way out of the womb and then uttering his famous first words.
Not to be outdone, and with 3 years to make up on his senior, who by this age had already beaten a child to death over a monkey bar dispute, Corey Taylor emerged in the Iowa desert in the wake of a violent sandstorm, already bearing his trademark Slipknot mask and barcode, although some witnesses, insisting on retaining their anonymity, went on the record to say,
"He was just an ugly man-child."
So powerful were these 2 men that even the world economy bowed to their whims, the decade entering a recession that bordered on depression, a chilling foreshadowing of both the sheer lyrical power of their respective bands and the general creative output of music in the decades to follow.
Durst's childhood was characterised by the same violence and wicked cool badassery that marked his birth. No playground could contain him, his teachers reminiscing,
"Fred was such a difficult child. We'd often tell him, 'Freddie, no hat, no play.' But he'd never listen. He'd march into the yard, stare up at the sky and yell, 'Fuck you, son! In this life, you follow my gravitational pull!' I have to say, his misunderstanding of basic physics was startling."
Such maxtremity became a thing of everyday life, to the point where it became dull. Fred sought new avenues for his thrills, and came upon the United States military's most extreme department, the Navy. Lesser individuals sneered at this decision, claiming that Durst was motivated by a desire to impress his father and girlfriend,
Editor's note, this part true.
rather than his inhuman need for violence. There was a swift exit from the Navy,
Also true.
and by Durst's own admission, he found boot camp to be too strenuous.
True.
But here at Metal as Cult, our hard-working researchers have only one thing to say about that. Lies. Propaganda sown by the enemy. Rather, we have determined that it became apparent to the Durst that nuclear-powered aircraft carriers just didn't have the firepower he required. Instead, he picked up his weapon of choice, a BC-rich warlock and a fat Marshall stack, and began to practice his sick chops. Check out this solo he penned in '91.
Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Yeah. Never mind. Shag my friends tonight!
Fred quickly realised he had little interest in playing with a smooth wooden shaft, so he got together with virtuoso transvestite Wes Borland, who had recently lost his gig as backup player at the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Together with DJ Lethal and the bass player whose name nobody can remember, they recorded the fierce and cleverly titled demo tape Mental Aqueducts.
Editor's note. This shit writes itself.
And so began what Durst described as
An unstoppable musical pain train of world domination.
Meanwhile, in Waterloo, Iowa, Corey Taylor was enjoying a very normal childhood. He was raised by a loving family, his grandmother often playing highly influential music for Corey, most frequently her Elvis records. Taylor later describing,
Them times are good times.
Among his favourite songs was the McStream single, Teddy Bear, whose famous chord progression would later be appropriated into Slipknot's first major commercial success, People Equals Shit. Let's have a listen.
Your teddy bear. Put a chain around my neck and leave me anywhere. Oh, let me be. Oh, let him be. Oh, teddy bear.
What, you can't hear it? It's right there.
However, one fateful night, when Taylor was watching television with his mother, he was inadvertently exposed to the trailer for a horror film, and the long dormant beast inside him was awoken, instilling an insatiable desire for jumpsuits, heavy drop tunings, and
Cocaine.
he would go on to live in his grandmother's trailer, picking up work at sex shop Adult Emporium, where a chance encounter with curious buyers Mick Thompson, Joey Jordison, and Sean Chuckles Crayon led to a proposition for an evening session.
By the way, did we already mention this shit writes itself?
The neighbours recall being kept up all night by a lot of angry shouting and banging coming from Crayon's garage. Thus was the genesis of Slipknot, and the boys immediately threw themselves into a tough regime of hypermasculinity, their most frequent activities including the wearing of matching outfits in public, writing songs about lost unrequited love, and crafting personalised masks that ranged from those of clowns to gimp and fetish headwear.
But still, something wasn't quite right. 4 members were far too many for a posse, yet too few for a mob, and so in a stroke of genius the band decided on the ultimate number,
9.
as in German for
No.
And there it was, the figure 9, imposing enough to frighten concerned mothers, but simple enough that the fans could still rely on finger counting. Slipknot would also pioneer new and exciting recording methods, culminating on their sophomore album Iowa, where the Lord Corey Taylor recorded the vocals for the title song completely naked, vomiting all over himself, and cutting himself with broken glass.
We shit you not, read their Wikipedia, people.
He explained in an interview,
You've got to break yourself down before you can build something great.
word. Phil Spector's undoubtedly in his prison cell right now, kicking himself, thinking, if only I'd thought of combining masochism and violent regurgitation with music. All I had was that piece of shit wall of sound. Oh, and I probably shouldn't have shot that hooker either. The two behemoths had now arisen.
Naturally, many were in jealous awe of their Maxtremity, and sought to emulate the genius of Slipknot and Limp Bizkit. As the millennium drew to a close, there was a tangible climate of fear on Earth. The Y2K bug was on everyone's mind, and prophecies of Satan and the imminent arrival of the Antichrist were shouted from street corners everywhere. But as January 1st in the year 2000 dawned, people everywhere awoke not to the sounds of hellfire or screams, but to a far more sinister and heaps mad noise. A drop G-sharp power chord. Nu metal was in, and clearly it was here to stay. Well, at the very least until 2004.
It was a triumphant period for music, with diverse, innovative sounds frequently explored and pioneered, and many memorable careers forged. Bands like Crazy Town, Alien Ant Farm, Papa Roach and POD all hit number 1 on the charts, and these outfits remain as relevant today as they were during those golden years. In a rare interview, founder and CEO of Roadrunner Records, Cease Wessler, sits down with metalist Carlton remembers.
Well, what can I say? These boys, they had balls. They had style. They had the looks. Well, not so much the looks, but they had balls. Thing was a cash cow. I'm talking major fucking dollars. And the kids ate it up. And yeah, sure, we got some concerned letters. But I says to him, hey, I gotta eat, don't I? You've been away a long time, maybe you don't hear, but I don't shine shoes no more. Pretty soon, they got the message. So we're all getting a piece of this nu metal pie. We got the money, we got the broads, and let me tell you, we got the respect. We were made men. I remember buying the last 2 known Siberian tigers from this big Russian prick, real old money, and I shoot them both in the head in front of him, just 'cause I could. I said, go ahead, cry like a bitch. You can see, nobody could touch us. But then comes the shakeup of 03. Doist tells me he wants to sit down. He tells me he gets booed off stage at Metallica's Summer Tour. Says the crowd chanted, fuck Fred Doist. Kept doing it until he's forced to leave the stage. And what's more, he thinks this Corey Taylor prick's getting too much of the action. Apparently Doist wants out. I says to him, I said, Freddy, let me tell you a couple of three things. You don't play, nobody gets paid. You might have thought results may vary with something special, but I gotta live in the world, and now I look like Joe Jerkoff. And let me tell you something about Corey. Me and him go back to when Moses wore short pants. So now I know things ain't right. The good old days, they're long gone. This new metal racket's on the way out. I knew it was too good to be true. Now Quasimodo, he predicted all of this.
You mean Nostradamus? Quasimodo, of course, being the hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, sure. Nostradamus. Forget about it. That's okay. Because by this stage, we got more money than God. And let me tell you something. You ever hear about this metalcore thing? Pay attention these next couple of months. You might just learn something. Now get the fuck out of here!
And so it came to pass. In light of his failures, Durst exiled himself to the wasteland known as Hollywood, a place far beneath the Great One, where he subjected himself to horrible punishment, including self-flagellation, film directing, and most heinously of all, relationships with pop starlets Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears. Since the tragic decline of nu metal, the future of Slipknot also now looks uncertain, most notably in light of their recent controversial firing of bassist Paul Gray over creative differences. Sources close to the band confirm that this split is permanent and that there is no hope of a reunion.
Too early.
But here at Metalist Cult, we maintain a goblet half full approach. Rumours of Limp Bizkit's forthcoming glorious return have been confirmed. The new album entitled Gold Cobra is due later this year, featuring max-stream tracks such as Intro Bruh, Outro Bruh, introspective ballad Douchebag, and the long-awaited nod to their fans, Middle Finger. Things also look promising for Slipknot, as the band can be assured of their fans' perpetual loyalty and dedication. As per the popular slogan, we cry, Maggots numeral 4 life.
So we take a moment to thank the metal gods, and we leave you with a humble tribute to this great genre, a cultural movement ahead of its time and significant beyond its years, a period in history never to be forgotten, a punch in the balls so hard that even your future grandchildren have already felt it. Here's Ben Folds with Rockin' the Suburbs.